What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Aram and today I'll be doing an oil change on my 1996 Toyota 4Runner. This is going to be the same process for the whole third generation, which is from 96 until 2002, and it's going to be more or less the same process for most other vehicles as well. So let me show you what we're going to need before we get started and then we'll get going. Alright, so first and foremost, we're obviously going to need some new oil. So 5W30 is what you need. I always use full synthetic. And if we look at the owner's manual right here, the 5VZ engine, which is what we have, it's the 3.4 V6. So it says with filter, you need 5.2 liters of oil, which is 5.5 quarts. So make sure you have at least that much oil. And then you're gonna need an oil filter. I'm using this Denso brand. It's actually my first time using this brand, so we'll see how that goes. And then for the oil, if I'm not mistaken, Toyota, I believe, uses a Mobil 1 brand. You can use any brand as long as it's 5W30, that's all that really matters. Personally, I like Castrol brand the best. Don't ask me why, I honestly don't have an explanation. I just like Castrol the best, and that's what I always put in my 4Runner. And the only other thing you might need is a drain plug gasket. So when you pull out the old drain plug, it's always best to replace that gasket. If you don't have one, it's not the end of the world. You can probably just do it on your next oil change, but it's always best to replace that. So the very first thing you're going to want to do before we drain the oil is to go for a quick little drive. Just drive around the block or whatever it takes. You want to just warm up the engine a little bit because you want to make sure the oil is nice and warm before we drain it. I've already gone ahead and done that. My 4Runner is nice and warm. So let's get under the truck and we'll drain the oil. All right, guys. So first things first, you'll probably have your factory skid plate here. If you do, just go ahead and take it off. If I remember correctly, the skid plate does have like a hole built into it where you can get to your drain plug with the skid plate in place. So you could do that if you want, but it's always easier if it's out of the way. You'll have more room to work. So once you get it off, we can get this drained. All right, guys, so this right here is our oil pan, and normally you would have a drain plug right here. It's just a bolt that you undo and then the oil will drain. And I did forget to mention earlier, actually, you'll need a drain pan just to catch all of the oil. Now, for me, I actually replaced my drain plug with what's called a Fumoto valve. And this thing, I'll show you how it works in a second here. It's amazing. It's basically like a faucet where you can just turn it on and off, and it's just a little bit more convenient to do the oil change. The way it works is there's just this little safety clip thing that you pull off. And then there's literally just this lever here that you can turn down and the oil will drain. And this really nice thing about it is I can take an empty container like this and I can just put it right under it, turn the lever, and as you can see, the oil is draining. Made a little bit of a mess here, but that's it. I can just place it under there and there's no mess. It can go directly in my empty container and I don't need a drain pan. So we'll just let that drain and then we'll come back when it's done. All right, guys, so once your oil is finished draining, we're gonna need to pull out the oil filter. So there's the drain plug right there. If you look just up from there, that's the oil filter right there, okay? So I'm just gonna put my hand in right from here from the front and I'm just gonna unscrew it. I should be able to get it by hand. If you can't do it by hand, you might need one of these. This is an oil filter wrench. You just grab it and you can unscrew it. So yeah, oil filter, you can grab it from right here. You can also go directly from underneath and grab it. Or the other way is to come from here. This is from the driver's side. You just take this little cover off, just pull it down, and then you can just reach in there and grab the oil filter really easily. And just unscrew it, and then just make sure you do have an oil pan like this underneath because it's definitely going to leak. All right, so now that you have the drain plug off and the oil filter, you want to just give it some time. Just let it completely finish draining. I usually just wait like at least 10-15 minutes. I'll go do something else and just wait for it to drain. I just wait until there's not a single drop coming out, and then I will put the drain plug back in and the oil filter. So once you're ready, we can go ahead and open up our oil filter. There's a little plastic thing on it. I just have to rip off here. This is actually cool. I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but this seal here, it looks like it's already like oiled. So normally what you want to do is grab your new oil. You want to just dip your finger in it. You literally just need a single drop of oil, and you just want to smear it around the seal on this oil filter. You can even use the old oil that's in the drain pan. Literally just dip your finger, smear it around. As I said, all you need is a single drop. But this is kind of cool. It looks like it's already done, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So I'll use the new one here. Just dip your finger in and just smear it around. Once you've done that, let's go onto the truck again and we'll put this back in. All right guys, so it doesn't really matter if you put the drain plug or the oil filter in first. Now for the drain plug, I don't know the torque spec offhand, but I always just kind of tightened it up by hand, and I'd use a ratchet just to make it nice and snug. You don't want to crank on it too hard, and you obviously don't want it to be too loose. So yeah, I would just make it nice and snug, or you can just look up the torque spec and do it that way. In my case, I have the valve, so I just literally shut it off and I'm good. And same goes for the oil filter. There is a torque spec, but I don't know it, and plus, good luck trying to get a torque wrench in there. I always just tighten it up by hand, and I go nice and snug by hand until I can't really turn it anymore. So we are ready to go ahead and put the new oil in. So we're gonna go ahead and just take this oil cap off. And the other thing that I forgot to mention that you might need is a funnel. So you wanna just go ahead and put your funnel in there, and then we can fill it with the new oil. Now the owner's manual did say that it takes 5.2 liters of oil, and this bottle here is 5 liters. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dump the whole thing in. And then once this is in, I'll check dipstick. I'm not gonna go ahead and put exactly 5.2 liters in because there's always gonna be a little bit of oil left over. But we'll see, I might have to add just a little bit more after this bottle here. All right, let's go ahead and check the dipstick here. Just give it a wipe. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but oil level is right exactly where it needs to be. And that's just after 5 liters. So what I'm gonna do now is just go for a quick little 5-minute drive, and then we'll shut it off, let it settle for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll just check it one more time just to be sure. All right guys, I just got back from a quick little drive. I checked my dipstick again, and my oil level is still perfectly where it needs to be. So I'm not gonna bother trying to add any more. 5 liters seem to be enough. So that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.